Welcome to Midlife Unplugged, the Fuck It Years. I'm your host, Lara Portelli. This is the space where we strip away the polite BS, rip the gloves off and get real about what it means to thrive in our second act. Each week, I'm joined by a guest who's walking their own bodacious midlife path. We're talking menopause, divorce, reinvention, and everything in between. Buckle up, because this isn't your mother's midlife crisis. This is Midlife Unplugged. Hello and welcome back, everybody, to Midlife Unplugged, the Fuck It Years. I'm your host, Lara Portelli, and today I have the wonderful Lynn Catalano with us all the way from New York City. Hello, Lynn, and welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us. So, Lynn, as you know, we are pretty raw and real on our show, and I'd like to jump straight in and talk about your midlife evolution, so to speak, and what's got you to where you are today from where you have been, and for our audience who are listening, where you are in your journey and what your fuck it moment was, what has brought you to where you are in life today, please.
Wow. Well, I will tell you, my story is a very twisting, winding road. I don't think if you ask children today, what do they want to be when they grow up? I don't think one of them will say Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Coach. I'm pretty sure about that. So, for me, I went to college, and I knew I was going to go to law school. And when I was in law school, I really wanted to be a sports agent. I wanted to represent athletes. And I thought as a girl, I should get a law degree. You don't have to have that. So I did that. And then when I graduated, I was engaged to my husband. And, women have to make a lot of decisions about whether to really devote yourself to a career and maybe have a family later on, or start a family. And I had already spent a lot of years in school, so I really wanted to have a family. So I did not pursue the sports agent career. And I ended up leading nonprofits, charity foundations for years for hospitals. And that became something I was good at. It was a great career to have while I had my children. And then all of a sudden, my mother suddenly passed away at 66 years old, very young. And, growing up, I knew that life was not completely normal at home. I'm an only child. I knew that my father behaved in ways that other parents did not. But, everybody's different. I wrote it off. Okay. And then she dies, and all of a sudden it was as if you're familiar with the classic movie, The Wizard of Oz, when they finally get to Oz and the curtain comes back and they see this little old man. That was how I felt. I felt like my mother had been the curtain all those years. And all of a sudden, my father started acting and saying weird things. And so my fuck it moment was when I was Googling his symptoms. I tell my clients this is a huge red flag now. Googling won't take responsibility for his actions, gives the silent treatment for long periods of time, doesn't tell the truth. There were a lot of things in there. And Google, in their infinite wisdom, kept spitting out narcissistic personality disorder. And I don't know if it was my coping mechanism or my law degree, but I really dove deep into the research. I needed to know, what was this? And I ended up interviewing lots of people that had suffered narcissistic abuse in different ways than I had. And I wrote a book about it called Wrecking Ball Relationships, because I felt like the wrecking ball was in my brain. I'm sure anyone suffering narcissistic abuse can really relate to that. And since then, I've been coaching people, and I feel like I've made lemonade out of lemons.
Yes, you talk about that. And I wanted to delve into a little bit more about Wrecking Ball Relationships. Is it your book? Is it your business name? Is it how you coach? Because we all coach and mentor or in Australia we have psychosocial recovery coaching,
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah, that helps people that have, been through several forms of abuse to get back to to what to a life that they'd like to live. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about wrecking ball relationships. Is that your way of coaching people through that have been through narcissistic relationships, whether it be from family, whether it be from spouse? Is that your, I guess, for want of a better term at the moment, flavor? Is that your wrecking ball is your flavor?
Well, I love that. That is certainly my brand, and it is my name on Instagram as well, Wrecking Ball Relationships. As I said, I love that imagery because we can all relate to that wrecking ball just going through your brain, doing so much damage. Um, and on the cover of my book, it's actually a wrecking ball hitting a family portrait, so you can really get what it's about. Yes, I do. I coach people who've suffered narcissistic abuse in all the ways that you listed. Yes, so it doesn't have to be from a parent. It could be from a partner or from a spouse or a boss. I coach people who've suffered all of that. And yes, wrecking ball relationships is definitely my brand.
Yes. And I like how you touched on that, because for myself, growing up, I was exposed to narcissism. And then we seem to, well, for people who are listening at home, you might be sitting there with your baby, or you might be, thinking, oh, this sounds a little bit familiar, what Lynn's talking about. And I know for myself, I seemed to attract narcissism. So you may have the experience sitting in your family home right now. You may also be attracting it at work. Like, I've experienced some awful and shitty situations at work with a boss that, is a narcissist. And how do you get out of it? How do you can put in all the complaints to HR that you want, but until that behaviour is recognised and
Yeah.
someone's willing to do something about it, it just continues on. And that's why I think the work you do, Lynn, is amazing, to bring education to people about, because you begin to think, this is me. Why are they going? Why is he shutting down? Why is he giving me the silent treatment? I've asked him to do something 3 days ago by close of business or something. And it's almost like a form of, I feel, in my uneducated about, narcissism, only lived experience, it's almost like it's, a form of power control. I don't know. That's how, am I getting close to it there, Lynn?
Oh my goodness. Every time I talk about people who suffer from narcissistic personality disorder, I tell people it always goes back to power and control. Those are the words, because that's what it's about. I have formulated my own red flags over the years for people to look for when you're in this type of relationship. It helps when you're dating, it helps to be aware of these things. And in my opinion, people who suffer from narcissistic personality disorder give us a gift. They are incredibly consistent. It doesn't
Mm,
matter if it's your boss or your partner or your sibling or your spouse or your parent. They all use the same tactics. I actually had someone on social media ask me one day, did they get a guidebook? Because it feels like they all do the same thing. They all know exactly what they're doing. But we have to look at it as a gift because it makes education and predictability and preparation so much easier for us, you
yes.
know?
So can anyone like at home resonate with that? They know what they're doing. Do they have a guidebook? Is it mapped out? And I used to think with my ex-spouse, does he know what he's doing, or is it just he can't be bothered, or we need to talk about this? We have an issue. Let's talk about this. Let's talk it out. Let's get some help. And it was just stonewall. It was just a complete brick wall. It was like I wasn't even there or talking. And the silent treatment, I'm not talking. He wouldn't say I'm not talking to you, but it just it was like I wasn't even there. And I'm going, oh, maybe he hasn't heard me. So I'd repeat it, which of course irritates, right? but I'm irritated too. And it's just this cycle. And I love how you touched on that, Lynn, about when you're dating. There's plenty of red flags, but speaking only for myself, do we, obviously the red flags were there, but I wanted to choose to see them green, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I was a bit colorblind. I don't know. It's too long ago. But yeah, I love that you touched on that about dating, because there's definitely, they're educating us. They're educating us. And
Yeah.
if it keeps popping up in your life, you have to wonder, don't you? But there was a lot of the time we say, is it me? Is this me?
In the infinite wisdom of our great poet laureate, Taylor Swift, narcissists will never say, I'm the problem, it's me. Never, 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 never. And if you're asking yourself that, I promise you, you are not the narcissist in the relationship. I promise.
Yeah.
They're not capable of self-reflection.
So it's actually a deficit in their makeup.
It's a personality disorder. It's a cluster B personality disorder. It's listed in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual for Mental Health. Every mental health professional in the world consults that manual. It actually has 9 behaviors. And in order to be considered to have narcissistic personality disorder, you have to possess 5 of the behaviors. So I don't mean to brag, but my narcissist was 9 out of 9. Just saying.
I'd have to do a bit of a score about the people that I've come across in my life, but oh, so it's actually a certified mental health
Yes,
condition. It's
yes,
actually a
absolutely.
personality disorder.
Yes,
You just
yes.
walk away thinking, oh, they're a prick, right?
No, 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 no. So much more than that. They are disordered. So all of their reactions, their responses, they are disordered. You are dealing with someone who is disordered. So you know how you just said with your ex that you like to talk it out, and he wasn't receptive to that. So for years, I'm not lying now, years, I would go to my father because my mother conditioned me to have an open, honest conversation when I had a conflict with someone, right? We should sit down, we should talk it out. And in a normal, non-disordered relationship, you're going to say to someone, when you did this, it hurt me, it hurt my feelings, it made me feel X, it did this, whatever. And the other person is going to say, I'm so sorry. I love you. I please forgive me. I will never do that again. I didn't know. And then it's resolved and you move on. With a disordered person, I would go with my bullet points because I'm an attorney. So I got bullet points on a piece of paper, and I come in, meet with my father, and I say, I start with number 1. And within minutes, he would say, do you know how hard it is for me? And he would turn the tables and he would make himself the victim. And we wouldn't talk about anything else on my list. And I would leave there thinking, what just happened?
Yeah, yeah. And if you think about it, for people that might be at home listening, whatever you may be doing, or driving in the car listening to this episode, as Lynn just said, she just touched on something really, really important there. You leave that meeting, so to speak, or coffee or whatever, and you go, what just happened? And they put it back on themselves. Oh, do you know how hard this is for me? If you look at it, narcissism can actually start and can be the precursor for lots of things such as domestic violence. And
Absolutely.
and I like what you talk about, Lynn, about narcissistic abuse is emotional abuse, because in Australia there's been a law passed, I think it was last July, about domestic violence isn't always now with fists. There's actually been a law passed here about coercive control.
Yes.
And it's back to what we talked about before: power, control, power, control. And when you're in it, you just can't see it. And as you were saying, as sad as it was with the Wizard of Oz, your mum was the curtain. Yeah. And then when mum wasn't there anymore, the yellow brick path unfortunately wasn't so golden for you, right?
No, not at all. Not at all. It's awful. The things that I learned, the things that I discovered. Um, he just did things that were so off. I'm an only child. I have two children, his only grandchildren. So we would go on vacation together. He stopped talking to all of us, my husband, my two children, and myself, on a beautiful vacation in the Dominican Republic. I mean, a beautiful place. And I'm not talking about the kind of silent treatment where he stayed in his room the whole time. No, 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 no. My father came to every meal because it was an all-inclusive resort. And at every meal, he would look at his fingernails, he would look out the window, he would look at the ceiling, anything but talk to any of us. So unbelievable behavior. And we came home like, well, we're never doing that again. That was the last one, thankfully. But it was constant. He was in competition with me, unbeknownst to me. Um, just everything was a problem. Everything was a manipulation. If it wasn't about him, he wasn't interested. It was very sad for my girls to not have a grandparent. Very sad.
And I wonder how much your mum suffered that was unbeknown to anyone, like society, the neighbours.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
she did a great job, unfortunately for her, of shielding everybody else.
yeah, yeah. And I
Did you
think
recognise it?
so. I do now because now I can see it. I feel like when you're in this type of relationship, you often don't know the terminology. We don't know what gaslighting is, or what word salad is, or what's happening when they're using projection and manipulation and the silent treatment. We just don't know. I didn't know it was called the silent treatment. I just knew he did stop talking to people, including me. And I saw my mother take a lot. I will tell you, um, in the US, we have a holiday called Thanksgiving. And I'm sure every country has something similar to that. But um, it happened that we would go to my mother's family for that holiday. There was not a year that my father didn't completely eviscerate the whole holiday. Like, I'm talking about, this was my mother's family, this was my grandmother, this was my mother's sister and her husband and her brother and his wife. And my father would throw a ginormous narcissistic rage storm. It wasn't a question of if, it was when. Every single year, he ruined the holiday.
That's a lot of carnage.
That is a lot
That
of
is a
karma.
lot of carnage.
It is.
Wrecking ball. Boom, 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 boom.
You
I
got
want
it.
to just go back a little bit. You used a term, and I want to go back so people can understand it because I haven't heard of it. Please, Lynn. Was it salad? Topping? Salad?
Oh, word salad.
Word salad. I've not heard of that. Can we go there, please, for a minute? What
Yes.
is that?
So I think if I read that in a book, I don't know if I would believe it, but I observed my father using this technique. So oftentimes during any kind of confrontation, any kind of argument, disagreement, whatever it is, the narcissist will attempt to deflect from answering a direct question.
Mm,
What they often bring up are things that may have happened a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. They're irrelevant things to what you're asking. So if you're asking, you know, did you do that? Did you, call me that? Did you take that? Did you say that about me? Whatever it is, right? The narcissist goes into this spin that's all about, um, well, remember when that time, and you, and these things that come out of their mouth are irrelevant. So the things they're talking about, it's just word salad. It has nothing to do with what you're
uh-huh.
asking.
Uh-huh. Okay, so it's a word salad. It's kind of like you've dumped the lettuce in and the cheese and the tomato and whatever your flavor is. He's just added his ingredients and yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
a
wow.
deflection. It's just a complete deflection.
Word salad. I've not heard of that.
Yeah.
Wow. And the other thing, Lynn, I like that you talk about as well is that family ain't always family, right?
In my opinion, friends are the family that you choose, right?
I
But
love that you talk about that. Yeah.
well, when things went really bad with my father, when he stopped talking to me for years at a time, his family, his brothers and their families and my cousins completely cut me off. Never asked me a question, never asked me if I was okay. At the time, I had been hosting an annual holiday every year at my home. My husband finally said to me, enough. Like, it's enough. You don't need to put yourself through this. You know, the anxiety and the pressure on me. And here my father wasn't even speaking to me, and I was going to entertain his whole family. And so I canceled it. And I had one cousin text me and say, "Are you having it or not?" And that was the last thing she said to me. And like not one aunt or uncle contacted me to say, "Are you okay? Is your mental health okay?" Nothing.
Mm,
So, I have my mother's family, and that's very important to me. And we do spend time with them every year. They're far and wide across our country, but we gather together, and that small is okay. I think your
mm,
small circle's okay.
mm. Yes, I agree. Um, I have found solace in people that are not family. I have found my people outside of my people
Yeah.
on several occasions, and it's good. It's good. It took me a long time to be okay with it. These
Yeah.
are not my blood people. These I look at other families and I think, oh, they're doing the whole Christmas thing together, but I have just not got that with my people, and my people are different to my blood people. And it took a while. It took a while for that to sink in, uh, but it's okay. And
It
life
is.
goes on, and you need to make the best of life.
Yes.
And I keep going back to what you said earlier in the call that these people are sent to educate us, and
Yeah.
it will continue to happen
Yes.
if it's God, if it's whoever, if it's Buddha, whoever is sending you this message, the universe, as you said, it will keep sending us this education until we hear it, until we
Yes.
hear it.
Yes.
And you heard it, I heard it, and you keep, why is this happening? Why does this keep happening? It keeps happening because we're meant to learn from it. It's our not education, lesson, our
Yeah.
lesson to learn.
Yeah.
And then finally, when you start to learn it, you go, okay, it's not happening so much, or it's not happening at all. And it's like, okay, I've learned that lesson, time to move on. But
Yes.
life is a school. Would you agree, Lynn? And you continue to learn even after you've left school.
Absolutely. And I feel like, Maya Angelou said this wonderful quote, which really didn't even strike me until after I went through this experience. She said, "When people show you who they are, believe them the first time."
Mm,
And I had to experience that myself because my father showed me many times, and it took me a long time to believe him.
absolutely. And I like that you talk about that having the uncomfortable conversations is okay and getting rid of the toxic people
Yes.
in
Yes.
your life. You know, the
Yeah.
toxicity, it hurts. Like, you know, talking to people that are listening, Lynn and I are not saying that it's easy. It's it's a
No.
it's hard to do. These are the people we love. These are the people that have been put in our lives. These are often our family, our spouse, whoever. Sometimes it can be a best friend, whoever these people are. And it's not easy. It's not
No.
easy. They're not easy lessons. However, they're there. And everyone's journey, everyone's individual journey is different with it, and learning to embrace it and learn from it and move on, I think, is the key. And yeah, everyone's journey will be different. And yeah, it's all there for a reason. So, Lynn, as we start to wrap up today, what message would you have for people listening about narcissism, the coaching that you do, and a way forward for people that it's okay? I guess people could be listening and going, it's okay for you. I don't know what to do. I'm in this relationship. I can't get out. I don't know if I want to get out. I know for myself, I think I'd been thinking in my marriage maybe for 5-10 years that I knew something wasn't right.
Wow.
And it wasn't anything big or blow up. It was just one day I was done. I was
Wow.
done. Yeah. After
Well,
24 years.
oof,
I was a slow learner.
wow. Well, we want to make it work. That,
Yeah.
we are very diligent about trying to make it work.
Well,
But
we're taught that. Again, I like how too that you talk about society's expectations and what we're conditioned and molded to believe. I need to make my marriage work. I'm trying to work on it. Why is he
yeah,
not? Why is he stonewalling me?
yep.
Yeah.
Well, I would tell your listeners that not everyone is a narcissist, so please don't use the term loosely. I feel like just because you like to take selfies doesn't make you a narcissist. Um, there are very specific parameters for it. But if you have dealt with someone, coercive control is a really dangerous part of narcissistic personality disorder. They like to control everything, including your finances. And if you're a victim of this, please talk to someone, get help, get some resources. I know I have a lot of free resources on my website. I know you're going to share that with your listeners. But find help, please. And talking to someone helps you so much. There's an awful, terrible statistic out there that says if you have a relationship with someone with narcissistic personality disorder, or you were raised by a narcissist, you are more likely to keep finding that person in different
Mm,
fonts
mm,
until you do the work. And so when I say do the work, read about it, talk to someone, dig in, find out why you find comfort in their chaos, because
mm.
you don't want to continue that. You want to break that cycle. And that's why I give people these red flags. That's why I help people with strategies. I think coaching is amazing. I would never, ever, ever knock therapy. I think therapy is amazing as well. But therapy is about really digging in and understanding what happened. Coaching is about moving you forward. I'm here to move you forward, help you heal, and get you on to your next chapter.
Yeah. And recognize the red flags.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, Lynn. Well, it's been lovely chatting to you all the way from New York. So, everybody, let's thank Lynn for her time today. So, thank you so much, Lynn. It's been amazing, and I learned so much. I learned so
Thanks.
much from chatting to you. That's a wrap on this episode of Midlife Unplugged. The fuck it is. If today's conversation lit something up in you, hit subscribe, share it with your midlife crew, and keep the conversation going. I'm Lara Portelli. See you next week for another raw, real, and unapologetic chat.